Hello, everybody. This is going to be the first episode of a series where I just rant and talk about current events and political issues. And it's going to be called From the Parents' Basement because apparently people think that all conservatives are neckbeards in their parents' basements. Today, we're going to be talking about the killing of George Floyd. And since it's so closely related, we're also going to be talking about the shooting of Ahmaud Aubrey. So, starting off with George Floyd. He was tragically killed, choked to death by the knees of a white police officer that may or may not have racist intent. If you think this is wrong, you can protest it. But one thing that I do not get is why do you have to destroy private property, burn down buildings, and just be an asshole? Why would you have to throw rocks at police cars, break windows? What does that gain in gaining justice for black people? Destroying a target does not bring you anywhere closer to solving the issue of police brutality. So, and they also compared this to the Minnesota marches where they had where civilians used their open carry laws by right and took their gun to the Capitol to protest the authoritative dictatorship of the Michigan government. But, you know what they weren't doing? They weren't destroying cars. They were yelling, but they weren't destroying cars, they weren't burning buildings, and they weren't throwing rocks at police officers. They were peacefully, well, verbally not, but physically they were peacefully standing there. They weren't aiming their guns at the police officers. Their guns were at their backs or at their sides. They're not shooting them. So therefore, it's a peaceful protest, and the police can't do shit about it. Like we're going just slightly to the Ahmaud Aubrey case. The Black Panthers that occupied the streets of where he was killed, they used their open carry rights, and I'm pretty sure none of them were arrested because they were following the law and they weren't being violent. So if you want to get justice for George Floyd, doing unnecessary property damage is not the way to go. And secondly, people want to say George Floyd, the guy who killed George Floyd, deserves life in prison or death. No, he does not. If I was a doctor and I was maybe posted one racist thing on my Twitter before, and there's this black patient on the table, and I accidentally do something, and he dies, and then I get sued for malpractice. Most likely what would happen is that I would lose my job because the hospital would lose tens of thousands to millions of dollars, and I would maybe lose my ability to practice medicine. And this police officer was fired, and most likely will not able to be a police officer anymore. And the Minnesota Police Department lost lots of money from this. People pulled associates. People are no longer want to be seen with them. So it's a horrible look for them too. So this is basically just a case of malpractice. If this was in any other field. Because if you're in a field like police work, lawyer, or law, or medicine, one small mistake like this can cause you your entire career because people's lives, years and years of people's lives are on the line. Like if you misspeak and the guy gets 30 more years in prison, that's on you, and you might be fired if you do this. So it's a tad bit unfair to imprison somebody for the rest of their life for something that is basically malpractice, because you don't imprison doctors forever for being incompetent and throwing them in jail for the rest of their life. Same thing with lawyers. So that explains the George Floyd case. Yes, he was killed, racist intent, maybe. Well, what many people hold political views. If you post the picture of yourself wearing a Biden shirt and then you go commit a crime, does that mean all Biden supporters commit crime? Was that racially charged because the store you robbed apparently had a Trump supporter in it? No, it's not fucking charged at all. It's just somebody did something wrong, and if you want to be mad about it, yes. But the thing with police brutality is white people and black people are killed at two different rates. White people are killed by police way more than black people. According to CNN, the great news network that never lies, white people, 494 deaths, black people, 258 deaths, of the 990 people shot dead by police in 2015. And also, white police officers are no more likely to kill a black person than Hispanic officers or black officers. So the rates are the same. It's just that once an African American is shot, the amount of widespread hysteria and media attention blows it much out of proportion. So it is just complete bullshit that we are spending so much time on this, because we are in a time of a pandemic. We have nothing to do. These are strange times. And you know what we do when we don't have anything else to do? If we were going to work, this wouldn't blow up like this. If we were going to school, it wouldn't blow up like this. If people had did something productive with their lives, instead of staying in home with a disease with the less than 5% mortality rate, this would not have happened, because nobody would give a shit about another police shooting if they had work to do to put food on the table to feed their kids or families, and had other fucking issues besides sitting at home and watching TV all day. And this kind of connects us to the Ahmaud Aubrey case, because people are making a mass hysteria of an Ahmaud Aubrey case when the brothers clearly followed all the laws. So there has been many robbings and trespassings recently in that neighborhood, and people spotted a person that looked like Ahmaud Aubrey trespassing on a private construction area. So therefore they called the police. But the police in this time are stressed out thin because they're first responders, and they told the civilians to contact these two brothers, because one of them was the former I think sheriff, or really a veteran police officer. So they called him, and within seconds of the call, they loaded up their shotguns, because what if this man was armed? You don't know if this man was armed. What if he had an open carry permit? You can't see from a shadow in the middle of a construction building. So this man, Ahmaud Aubrey, may have been armed. He wasn't, but if he was armed, and these two brothers came up to him with their fists and a stick, what the fuck is he supposed to do? Ahmaud Aubrey can pop both of them with a Glock 19. So they reported this man running down the street that was matched with all the other descriptions of the people committing crimes in the area, and these two brothers waited for them. They pointed a gun at him so they could stop, and then Ahmaud Aubrey fought back, and they, according to the stand your ground laws, if they fought back, you're legally allowed to shoot them. They were legally making a citizen's arrest. They were legally using their right to open carry, and they were legally using their right to stand your ground and self-defense. So yes, was it unfortunate that a man died, and was maybe be a misunderstanding? But this happens all the time to people of all different races. But this is the one time this person had slight ties to some group that may have been hateful. If you dig up anyone's history past, you can go to Kevin Hart. Like, you can say, well, if Kevin Hart did this, he's a alt-right scumbag because he tweeted about not accepting transgender people back in 2006. Like, you can't just dig up a man's entire history and say there's no wrong to it. Nobody has not done anything they regret in the past. Hillary emails, Obama weed, Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky, and Jeffrey Epstein, Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and grabbing women by the pussy, Joe Biden saying the N-word multiple times on national TV, and the Indian 7-Eleven joke thing. Everyone has things that they regret. Well, not regret, that look good on them. So these brothers were following the law, and they had some things on the internet that didn't make them look good, and they're now arrested because they weren't arrested, because they followed all the laws. They followed open carry, citizen's arrest, stand your ground. All three laws were followed. There's not a single law being broken. It's that your moral compass thinks that it is above the law. Your moral compass thinks that your little feelings of, I'm not happy that I feel so sad, is above the law. No, it is not. The law comes first. Well, yes, you might say, well, why are you complaining about the law now and saying you should overthrow the government in Michigan? But it is much different. The thing in Michigan is that they're using emergency powers and they think that they have used it over the time that they were supposed to. Like, you're only supposed to have emergency powers for 3 months, but now you're extending it to 6 months. I don't think that should happen, and they're peacefully protesting and not burning down buildings and targets. So, you know what you're protesting now? A right that the Black Panthers used 2 days later to open carry, a stand your ground law that saves thousands of lives every year, as self-defense with a gun saves million. I think was used like 2 million times, and much more than the amount of deaths that happened. So this is just these two events are just unfortunate things that were overhyped by the media to satisfy people's needs to care about something over this break. So he followed all the laws, and citizens arrest. If the police can't get there, if the police are stretched thin right now, you think the police have more things to worry about than one trespasser that broke into a few homes 2 days ago? No, they have bigger things to worry about. So they have a citizens arrest law that allows former police officers that are just as competent. If a person in the army comes back home, is he less competent now? Like, does not being in the middle of Syria or Afghanistan make you less competent? No, the police officer, he doesn't wear the badge, but he's still competent enough to make an arrest, and he still understands the law that if a person that you're trying to detain fights back, you're allowed to stand your ground laws and shoot them. So George Floyd, yes, I've seen the video. The officer was wrong. He got the punishment he deserved. He's not gonna probably have a job anytime soon, and he might even get sued. But the people who killed Ahmaud Aubrey, that is called wrongly accusation. Why are these two innocent men in jail? Why? Because CNN and MSNBC can't shut their fucking mouths and have to go on and on and on, because if they can't blame Trump for the coronavirus, we're gonna blame the Republicans for something. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content.